Hey, everybody. I wanted to come to you today with more of a conceptual thing to help you think through personally. I'll tell you as I go through this, I don't think there's a absolute right or wrong answer. In fact, the beauty of collective thought is that you get to come to your own conclusions. But the concept that I want to talk about or empower you with is called herd immunity. Now, that topic has been thrown out very frequently over the last couple of years, specifically on the debate of how to achieve herd immunity. So a few things that I'd like to bring up is herd immunity occurs in the herd. It occurs from a variant or different certain strain of a virus or bacteria becoming exposed to enough people that their immune system, when exposed to it again, recognizes that virus or bacteria and kills it before it infects them or makes them significantly sick. This has happened over our entire history. No matter when you believe the world began, it's been something you can go all the way back. One example of immunity or herd immunity would have occurred from the bubonic plague, better known as the Black Plague in Europe, which killed a huge percentage of the population several hundred years ago. But that did not end from some sort of medical intervention. In fact, it ended because enough people were exposed to it that their immune systems no longer allowed that strain of the disease to infect and kill more people. So people developed herd immunity. You may know, and I would tell you, I think it's a crime that the World Health Organization has recently changed the definition of how humans develop herd immunity from either exposure to enough percentage of the human population that they no longer express symptoms, or by vaccination, to removing the first part and stating that herd immunity is solely achieved through vaccination, which is absolutely not true and has to make you wonder the credibility of an organization that would change things purely to meet I would state a media rhetoric. Now, a couple other things, because I will tell you there's certainly some polarizing topics, so I'm not even going to talk about our current climate, but I do think it's important to challenge your thinking with something else. There's an argument for that vaccination is what, for instance, cured polio. And so while some people may hold that argument when they do more research, what you may not know is that total cases of polio were 90% lower by the time an effective vaccine was introduced. Now, there are currently minimal to no cases of polio. In fact, there is the only way to get polio is from a side effect of the vaccine, which happens only a few times a year per state, and is so rare that it should be considered a statistical insignificant. But for those that think that the human race was going to die or perish from that, actually humans created herd immunity before a medical intervention was created. Now, many vaccinations are done from viruses, which do tend to vary. One thing that has confused a lot of people over the last couple of years specifically is this idea that you can catch a virus multiple times. In fact, that was stated incorrectly in the media very regularly, especially early on in 2020. But the reality is you catch it from variants, which of course now the media is pushing very hard. But for instance, the flu has on average about 4 variants a year, and that is why people can get the flu year after year. However, this whole idea of antibodies being the sole way that you know if you are immune is actually completely arbitrary. Your body creates memories in your immune system very similar to how your brain makes memories in your long-term memory. It's not going to keep everything, but it's stored in different fashions. So for instance, antibodies are the first line of defense. However, your B and T cells are what remember what that strain of bacteria or virus was. And so for instance, there's been research that's shown that the reason flu strains die out is because your T cells can remember strains of the flu for at least 60 years. And so again, like I had the previous virus, I went and tested for antibodies, and within 8 weeks, my antibodies had disappeared. But yet, even with multiple exposures over past times that I wasn't, aware of, my body is still fought it off because, again, I can tell you my immune system's strong and has memories. Now, the way that you keep your immune system strong is from exposure. It's from continually being exposed to dirt, bacteria, viruses, all that kind of stuff. So anytime that you're avoiding those things, you do weaken your immune system. If you're okay with that, that's just fine. But it's kind of like, working out in the gym. If you want strong muscles, you have to continue to work it out. So the last thing to compare when you talk about herd immunity is something like whooping cough, which has a vaccination for, and scarlet fever, which does not. So scarlet fever, way back when, 100 years ago, 1 in 5 children that developed scarlet fever died from it. A radical death rate, way different than any other common infection of today. And the reason why they died from it was a combination of the not having antibiotics, but additionally sanitation, quality nutrition, food availability, clean water, that kind of stuff. But 1 in 5 children died from developing scarlet fever roughly 100 years ago. And if you compare that today, just the fact that we have sanitation, clean water, things like that, that's a huge component to why people have a much lower death rate with any simple infection. It's a huge component to why we have increased longevity or years of life as we age. It's not necessarily all this modern medicine. In fact, you can argue it's sanitation, clean water, food, better access to food, stuff like that. So going back to this herd immunity concept, the idea is that you are capable of remembering a virus or bacteria you're exposed to. And in fact, you taking personal responsibility to have a strong immune system by eating healthy, exercising, getting adjusted, and whatever else you feel makes your immune system stronger can really help in the fight for a better life, better quality of life, and protecting those that might be more immunosuppressed or immunocompromised. So hope that stimulates your thinking. Again, just something to think about, but I hope you feel empowered by the fact that you are powerful and you have a choice in strengthening your system. Have a very blessed day.